There comes a moment in every person's life when something snaps inside. A moment when you look around and realize, this can't be it. This can't be all there is. You're done waiting, done hoping, done playing small. You feel it deep in your gut, the need to become something more. That's the moment everything can change. But here's the truth: most people feel that spark and do nothing with it. They wait for the right time, the perfect plan, the right mood, but that moment, that spark, doesn't last. It fades unless you grab it, own it, and say, this is it. I'm not waiting anymore. Change doesn't begin when life gets easier. Change begins when you decide that the pain of staying the same is no longer worth it. You don't need permission. You don't need guarantees. You need a decision. One powerful, committed decision can rewrite the story of your life. Not tomorrow, not someday, but right now, in this moment, because the moment you decide, truly decide to change, life moves with you. The universe aligns, opportunities open, and your energy shifts. You start attracting different people, different results, different emotions. Why? Because you've changed the vibration of who you are. You've stopped being the version of yourself that tolerates mediocrity, and you've started becoming the one who demands greatness. But make no mistake, it's not easy. Change will test you. It will push you to your limits. It will tear away your excuses, your comfort, and your old identity. And that's exactly what it's supposed to do, because real transformation doesn't happen in safety. It happens in discomfort. Growth and pain are twins. One doesn't exist without the other. So if you've reached that moment, the breaking point, the edge, the crossroads, don't turn back. Don't wait for someone to rescue you. Stand up. Take a deep breath and decide, because that single decision to rise, to fight, to rebuild, that's the moment that changes everything. Every person reaches that point in life where something inside them just can't take it anymore. The routines, the excuses, the endless waiting, it all becomes too heavy to carry. You wake up one morning and the mirror doesn't lie. You're tired, not just physically, but deep in your spirit. You're tired of settling for less than what you know you're capable of. You're tired of saying, someday. That breaking point doesn't come to punish you. It comes to wake you up. It's life's way of shaking you, forcing you to look at where you are and who you've become. It's the moment you realize that comfort is no longer comfortable, that staying the same now hurts more than the idea of change ever could. In that moment, there's a mix of fear and fire. Fear because you know that change means uncertainty, and fire because you can feel a part of you screaming to be free. It's the inner voice that's been whispering for years, you're meant for more. You've ignored it, silenced it, drowned it out with distractions and excuses. But now it's louder than ever. And this time, you can't shut it off. The breaking point strips away all illusions. It shows you the truth, not the version of yourself you present to others, but the raw, unfiltered truth of who you've become and what you've tolerated. That truth burns, but that burn is what fuels transformation. When you reach that edge, most people retreat. They go back to the familiar pain, the predictable misery. They tell themselves that maybe things aren't so bad, but deep down, they know they've betrayed themselves. The real shift happens when you choose not to retreat, when you decide that no matter how uncertain, how scary, or how hard it's going to be, you're going to step forward anyway. That decision right there is where power begins. Because you're no longer running from pain, you're using it. The pain becomes your compass. It's no longer something you avoid. It becomes the proof that something inside you still cares. The breaking point is a gift disguised as chaos. It's not the end, it's the beginning. It's that sacred moment when your old self starts to die and the real you begins to wake up. But it doesn't feel beautiful at first. It feels heavy, confusing, and lonely. You might cry, you might doubt, you might feel like you're losing everything. But what you're really losing are the chains, the habits, the thoughts, and the fears that kept you small. You're shedding the layers of comfort that once protected you, but now suffocate you. Every ounce of discomfort you feel in that process is a sign that you're shedding who you're not. At that breaking point, time slows down. You see with clarity how much of your life you've lived reacting instead of creating, surviving instead of thriving. And you finally understand that nothing changes until you do. You realize no one is coming to rescue you, not luck, not timing, not anyone else. That realization stings, but it's also the most liberating truth you'll ever face. Because if it's up to you, then you have the power to rewrite it all. That moment, that fire, that ache, that scream from your soul is life demanding that you rise. And it's in that moment that you finally see it. You were never broken. You were being broken open. The pain wasn't there to destroy you. It was there to reveal you. The breaking point isn't the end of your story. It's the moment the real story begins, the one where you stop being a prisoner of fear and start becoming the author of your own life. There's a distinct moment in life when everything changes, not because the world shifts, but because you finally make a real decision. Most people spend years drifting, hoping circumstances will change, waiting for a perfect sign or the right timing. But nothing moves until you do. Life doesn't bend to hesitation, it responds to clarity. The second you decide that you're done living on autopilot, that you're done accepting less than what you deserve, that's the second your entire energy shifts. A true decision has power. It's not wishful thinking. It's not, I'll try. It's a line drawn in the sand, a deep, unshakable conviction that says, this ends now. When you decide, truly decide, something profound happens within you. Doubt begins to lose its grip. Excuses start to dissolve. You stop negotiating with your limitations. That's the difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in change, you'll do what's convenient. But when you're committed, you'll do whatever it takes. That's the power of a decision. It burns the bridges behind you and leaves no room to retreat. Suddenly, the impossible starts to look possible. Opportunities that were invisible before begin to appear, not because they weren't there, but because your mind was too clouded by uncertainty to see them. People often think they need motivation before they act, but it's the other way around. Motivation doesn't come first, decision does. Motivation is the byproduct of movement, not the source of it. Once you decide, once you take that first bold step, the fire comes alive inside you. Your brain shifts from, can I do this, to, I will find a way. The universe doesn't reward wishers, it rewards deciders. Every successful person you've ever admired reached a point where they had to make a choice, stay the same or become who they were meant to be. And every single one of them began with a decision that felt uncomfortable, uncertain, and terrifying. But here's the truth most people never understand indecision as a decision too. Choosing to wait, choosing to hesitate, choosing to doubt, those are all choices. And each of those choices keeps you stuck. Every time you tell yourself maybe later, you're postponing your potential. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is filled with unmade decisions. It's not that life refuses to give you opportunities. It's that you keep refusing to commit to them. The moment you take full ownership and say, I'm done waiting, you reclaim your power. Decision is the point where your destiny begins to take shape. It's the doorway between who you are and who you can become. And it's not about grand gestures or loud declarations. Sometimes it's a quiet moment, a still powerful realization that you're never going back to the person you used to be. From that moment, your energy changes. You start walking differently, speaking differently, thinking differently. You stop chasing approval and start following purpose. You stop worrying about who's watching and start focusing on what's calling you. When you decide, truly decide, something clicks inside you that can't be undone. It's like flipping a switch. Suddenly, excuses that used to control you no longer fit your life. Fear is still there, but it doesn't stop you anymore. You may still doubt yourself, but you keep moving. Because once you decide, your mind starts finding reasons why it can work instead of why it can't. You begin to attract new people, new ideas, new paths. It's not magic, it's alignment. You've chosen a direction, and now everything in your world starts rearranging to match that choice. There's real freedom in that kind of decision. It doesn't mean life gets easy. It means you finally take control. You stop waiting for permission, for inspiration, for someone to save you. You start realizing that no one is coming to fix your life but you. And that truth, as uncomfortable as it feels, is what gives you strength. Because from that moment forward, you're no longer a passenger, you're the driver. That's the power of a single decision. It doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. There comes a moment in every person's journey when they realize that nothing in their life will ever change until they stop pointing outward and start looking inward. It's easy to blame others, your parents, your circumstances, your past, the economy, the people who hurt you, the people who didn't believe in you. Blame feels safe. It allows you to stay where you are without confronting the uncomfortable truth that you are the only one with the power to change your life. But the second you shift from blame to ownership, everything begins to transform. Ownership is freedom. It means you stop waiting for someone else to fix what only you can. It means you stop living in reaction and start living in creation. Most people don't realize how much of their power they give away by blaming others. Every time you say, I can't because of them, or I'm this way because of what happened to me, you're handing control of your future to your past. You're allowing the worst moments of your life to define the next chapter. Taking ownership doesn't mean denying what happened. It means refusing to let what happened decide who you become. It means looking at the pain, the mistakes, the setbacks, and saying, yes, that happened. But now I choose what happens next. That shift changes everything. The moment you stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as the author of your story, your life begins to open in ways you never thought possible. Responsibility is not punishment, it's empowerment. When you take full ownership, you take your power back from everything and everyone that once controlled you. You stop being at the mercy of circumstances. You stop being the person things happen to, and you start being the person who makes things happen. You begin to understand that your mindset, your habits, and your choices have been shaping your life all along. And when you see that clearly, you can no longer pretend you're powerless. That's when the transformation begins. The moment you accept that everything you've tolerated, everything you've ignored, everything you've avoided is now your responsibility to change. The truth is, the world doesn't owe you anything. Life isn't always fair, and waiting for fairness is a guaranteed way to stay stuck. But the beauty in that truth is that you don't have to wait for anything. You can start rewriting your story today. You don't need permission to grow. You don't need validation to heal. You don't need approval to move forward. You just need to decide that no matter what's been done to you, you're no longer going to live defined by it. That's what ownership is. It's choosing power over pity, action over excuses, and courage over comfort. When you begin to take ownership, everything changes, not because the world becomes easier, but because you become stronger. You start seeing challenges differently. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin to ask, what can I learn from this? How can I use this? That shift turns obstacles into opportunities. You start realizing that every hardship has been training you for the next level of your life. Every person who doubted you has been shaping your resilience. Every failure has been preparing your strength. Ownership helps you see meaning where there used to be misery. Once you embrace this mindset, blame no longer has a place in your vocabulary. You stop needing to prove who was wrong or right because you're too focused on building what's next. You begin to operate with clarity, knowing that while you can't always control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond. And in that response lies your true power. That's where leadership begins, not in managing others, but in mastering yourself. Owning your life means being brutally honest with yourself about what you've allowed and what you've neglected. It means acknowledging the habits that sabotage you and the patterns that hold you back. But it also means realizing that you can choose differently now. You don't have to stay trapped in old versions of yourself. Every day is another chance to take the pen back and rewrite the story. And once you do, you start to see the truth that was there all along. The power to change your life was never lost. It was always in your hands, waiting for you to claim it. When you decide to change your life, you will have to face fear. It will show up in many forms. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of being judged, fear of the unknown. Fear has one job: to keep you where you are. It convinces you that staying safe is better than taking a risk, that comfort is more valuable than growth, and that uncertainty is too dangerous to face. But what fear really does is trap you in a life smaller than the one you were meant to live. Every great transformation begins with a battle against fear, and the truth is, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward even when fear is screaming at you to stop. People often wait for the fear to go away before they take action. They tell themselves, once I feel ready, I'll start, or when I'm not scared anymore, I'll go for it. But readiness is a myth. You'll never feel completely ready to step into the unknown, and that's the point. Growth doesn't happen when everything feels safe and certain. It happens when you take the step despite the trembling, when you act before you feel prepared, when you trust that you'll figure it out as you go. Every person who's ever changed their life has felt fear. They just didn't let it make the decisions. They used it as a signal that they were moving towards something meaningful. Fear thrives in inaction. The longer you hesitate, the louder it gets. But the moment you move even a little, it starts to lose its power. Action disrupts fear. Every time you push forward, even when your voice shakes, even when your hands tremble, you're teaching your brain a new pattern. That discomfort isn't danger, it's growth. That uncertainty isn't failure, it's the path forward. The more you move through fear, the less control it has over you. Eventually, the things that once terrified you become normal, even easy, because you've trained your mind to see challenge as opportunity. Fear also has a way of disguising itself as logic. It sounds like the voice of reason saying, maybe later, or it's not the right time. It uses the language of practicality to keep you small. It tells you that now isn't the moment to change, that you should wait until you have more money, more time, more confidence. But that voice isn't your intuition, it's your limitation. The right time never comes, you create it by acting. The people who achieve extraordinary change are the ones who stop negotiating with fear. They hear the excuses, they feel the anxiety, and they move anyway. They understand that courage is built, not found. Fear isn't your enemy, it's a compass. It points directly to the areas of your life that need your attention. The things you're most afraid of doing are often the exact things that would set you free. Having that difficult conversation, starting that new project, leaving that toxic environment, taking that leap of faith, those are the moments that define your growth. If you keep running from fear, you keep running from your power. But when you face it head on, you reclaim control. You start realizing that fear was never there to stop you. It was there to test your commitment. The most powerful people in the world still feel fear, but they've learned to reinterpret it. Instead of seeing it as a wall, they see it as a doorway. They understand that every breakthrough begins with a moment of doubt. The only difference between those who stay stuck and those who rise is the decision to act in the presence of fear. That's what courage really is, doing it anyway. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you expand your capacity to grow. And every time you do, you become a little less controlled by fear and a little more guided by purpose. Change doesn't happen just because you want it. It happens because you stay consistent when it's no longer exciting. In the beginning, the fire burns bright. You're motivated, you're inspired, you're ready to conquer the world. But then comes the test, the days when the excitement fades, when progress feels invisible, when life throws distractions and doubt in your way. That's where most people stop. They confuse the fading of motivation with a sign that they're not meant for it. But true transformation doesn't come from bursts of passion, it comes from discipline. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it, doing the work even when nobody's watching, and holding yourself accountable long after the initial spark has died. Consistency is the bridge between intention and transformation. You can dream all you want, but without daily action, dreams stay fantasies. The world doesn't reward wishful thinking. It rewards persistent effort. Every time you show up, even in small ways, you're building momentum. Every rep, every step, every repetition compounds over time. And here's the truth. It's not the big leaps that change your life. It's the small choices you make over and over again. It's waking up early when you want to sleep in, staying focused when you want to quit, and keeping promises to yourself when no one else would know if you didn't. That's where strength is built, in the quiet, unseen moments of consistency. The people who create massive change aren't the ones who work the hardest for a week. They're the ones who stay committed for years. They understand that growth isn't a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. You don't just change once. You choose to change every day. You keep aligning your actions with your vision, even when results are slow. You keep doing the right thing, even when it doesn't feel rewarding yet. The truth is, your habits define your destiny. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So if you want a different life, you must build patterns that pull you toward it, routines that reflect the person you're becoming, not the one you're leaving behind. Most people quit because they mistake consistency for boredom. They think that because the routine feels repetitive, it's not working. But mastery looks boring from the outside. It's repetition, refinement, adjustment. It's doing the same thing again and again until it becomes instinct. Think about any area of excellence. Athletes, entrepreneurs, creators, their greatness isn't built in moments of excitement, but in relentless dedication when no one is clapping. They understand that discipline is freedom, that once you make a decision and commit to it, you no longer waste energy deciding every day whether to follow through. You just do it. You move because you said you would. There will be days when you feel like nothing is changing. You'll question whether your effort matters, whether your vision is even possible. That's the moment that defines everything, because change doesn't give instant rewards, it gives long-term results. What you plant today doesn't bloom tomorrow, but every action is a seed. If you stay patient, if you stay consistent, the harvest always comes. You have to trust the process even when the evidence isn't visible yet. The people who succeed aren't necessarily smarter or luckier. They're simply the ones who didn't stop watering their seeds when progress was invisible. Consistency turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. It doesn't require perfection, just persistence. You'll fail, you'll fall, you'll get off track, but you get back up every time. You keep moving. Because transformation isn't about doing everything right. It's about refusing to quit. When you understand that, you realize that every small effort matters. Every disciplined choice builds a foundation stronger than motivation ever could. And when you commit to that, when you make consistency your standard, change stops being a wish. It becomes inevitable. The moment you decide to change everything, you're not just creating a new goal, you're creating a new identity. Real transformation doesn't happen by adding new habits on top of an old version of yourself. It happens when you let go of who you've been and step fully into who you're becoming. That requires courage, because the old version of you will fight for survival. It will whisper that change is too hard, that comfort is safer, that you can't really become someone new. But that's the illusion. You're not losing yourself. You're uncovering the real you that's been buried beneath fear, excuses, and limitations. Growth isn't about becoming someone different. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. You can't build a new life with the mindset that created the old one. Every pattern, belief, and behavior you've been living by up to this point has shaped your current reality. So if you want something different, you have to think differently. You have to question the stories you've accepted as truth, stories about what you can or cannot do, about what you deserve, about what's possible for someone like you. Every belief you hold either expands your potential or limits it. Change begins when you become aware of those limits and decide to rewrite them. You start to ask, what if that's not true? What if I've been capable all along? The moment you begin to question your old beliefs, you take back control of your future. Becoming a new version of yourself means being willing to let certain things die. Old habits, toxic relationships, familiar routines, and even parts of your personality that were built just to survive. That's not easy. There's grief in letting go, even when you're releasing things that hurt you, because what's familiar feels safe, and safety is addictive. But growth only happens when you trade temporary comfort for long-term purpose. You can't reach your next level while clinging to what kept you safe at your last one. The bridge to your future is built on release, releasing old fears, old patterns, old versions of yourself that no longer serve where you're going. When you start stepping into a new identity, the world around you will test it. People will question your change, some will resist it, and others will walk away. That's okay. Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Sometimes, losing people is part of finding yourself. You're not here to prove your growth to anyone. You're here to live it. The only approval you need is your own. You'll find that as you grow, the right people will naturally align with your energy, people who challenge you, inspire you, and push you higher. Change has a way of reorganizing your environment to match your new identity. As you evolve, you'll realize that growth isn't just about external success. It's about inner peace. The real victory isn't achieving something new. It's becoming someone who no longer needs to escape their old life. You begin to feel alignment where your thoughts, actions, and emotions work together instead of against each other. You stop chasing validation because you're living from a place of authenticity. You no longer need to prove your worth. You embody it. That's the ultimate transformation when success becomes less about what you have and more about who you are. And while the process isn't always easy, it's always worth it. Because when you shed the old layers of doubt and limitation, you tap into a version of yourself that's powerful beyond measure, a version that sees opportunity where there used to be fear, a version that leads instead of follows, a version that lives intentionally instead of habitually. The moment you commit to that transformation, your entire world begins to shift. The people, the opportunities, the energy, everything starts to align with who you've decided to become. That's when life stops happening to you and starts happening through you. That's when the real change begins, not outside, but within. Every moment of transformation starts with a single decision, the decision to no longer accept less than what you're capable of. When you choose to rise, when you choose to take ownership, when you choose to act in the face of fear, life begins to shift in ways you can't even imagine. You start to realize that change isn't something that happens to you. It's something you create from within. And once that shift happens, you'll never see yourself the same way again, because deep down, you'll know that the person you've always wanted to become has been waiting for you all along, waiting for the moment you finally decided to stop waiting. Every great story begins with a decision, and this is yours. You can keep wishing, or you can start doing. You can keep dreaming, or you can start becoming. The choice will always be yours. But remember this, nothing changes until you decide that you will. The power to transform your life isn't out there somewhere. It's right here inside you in this moment. You already have everything you need to take that next step. The only question is, will you? If this message moved you, inspired you, or reminded you of your own strength, don't leave without subscribing. Join this journey of growth, mindset, and motivation, because every week we go deeper, we grow stronger, and we move closer to becoming the best version of ourselves together. Hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and be part of a community that believes in one thing: transformation is possible. Thank you for spending your time here, for listening, for feeling, for showing up for yourself. Your presence matters. Your growth matters. And your story isn't over. It's just beginning. Keep pushing forward. Keep believing in yourself. And never forget, one decision, one moment, one choice can change everything. Until next time, stay strong, stay focused, and keep chasing the life you were meant to live. This is your time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.